1 week, one panel. And at the end of it, I decided to skip my graphic novel's first page and come back to it later. On purpose! There's a reason professionals do exactly this, and it's the opposite of what you've probably been told. But by the end of this video, you'll know why the first page is the hardest page you'll ever make, and what to do about it. Hi, I'm Kim, and this is a Remember K.A.T.E walkthrough. I've spent 20 years in animation and VFX, and now I'm building my own graphic novel, Dark Angel, out in the open. If you appreciate this sort of content, let me know by gently tapping that like button. All right, here we go. First up, before any drawing happens, I ask what the page is actually doing. Page 1 has one job, and it's a big one. It has to introduce the main character, and it has to introduce the world the story lives in. That's it. But that's massive. The reader's expectations are set on this first page. So just grabbing a pencil and scribbling down what the script says is gonna land you in a mess. I start with the story's job, because if you don't know what the page has to do, you'll make something that looks nice, but does nothing. Next is reference, and this is the step most people rush. Before I make a single mark, I go gather reference. For the first panel, that's split across Pinterest, looking at how other artists had handled distant cities, especially cities in a haze. Then there's the cafe. I based this cafe on a 1950s roller cafe, but most of them sit in a city setting. I don't want that. Dark Angel's cafe is a truck stop, the kind on the outskirts with all the open space for trucks to stop and fuel up and park. So I've pieced together a 1950s cafe and drop it in a rural Australian desert truck stop. That's what makes this feel authentic. But there are story points later in the story that have to be grounded in the way that the cafe and the car park are laid out. So I'm designing the space now to pay off pages I haven't drawn yet. For the character, I use two things: film footage of myself in the actual pose, and the character Bible I've built. Reference isn't copying. It's keeping yourself and the story honest. Then comes layout, where I plan the page as one image, not a stack of boxes. The script already told me how I saw this page when I wrote it. One large panel at the top to set the whole environment, and two smaller panels underneath with specific actions. Conceptually, that was clear. All right, quick break because a few people have asked. Everything I used to lock down a story before I ever draw, the questions I ask, the way I plan a page, I've put into a free checklist, and there's a fuller kit with the templates I actually work from if you want to go deeper. Links are in the description and the pinned comment below if that's useful to you. That's it. All right, back to the page. 3 is the right amount of panels for the page. So my patch is to make the top panel the landscape shot and drop the book's title in the middle of the page to bridge the white space that opens up. It keeps the layout format clean. No fourth panels. And honestly, I'm still not convinced that this is the answer. I might rework the bottom two instead, make one smaller for a single action and one larger, bringing the bigger panel also has to set up where the later sequence plays out. I'm telling you this because that unresolved feeling is the real job. The rough is where you find out your neat plan has a problem in it, and where you fix it cheaply, rather than drawing everything to a final pose. That's where it becomes expensive. Which brings me to the honest part. This one panel took me most of a week. I ran it through a few different programs to get the result I was after, and standing back from it, I like it, but I'm not sure I like it as the very first thing a reader will ever see. That's the trap. The first page carries the most weight, so you make it under the most pressure at the exact moment you know the least about your own book. Here's what 20 years in the animation industry taught me about that. On a series, we almost never make the first episode first. We start on episode 2 or 3 and come back to episode 1 once we actually know what the show is. You find the voice by making the thing, and then the opening gets easier because you finally know what you're actually opening. So I'm going to do that here too. I'm going to pick a page deeper in the first chapter, one with a more standard layout, and build that one up. And I already know I'll answer half the questions I'm stuck on right now. So when I come back to page 1, it won't feel like pushing a boulder uphill. The thing that kills a creative project isn't the lack of talent, it's waiting for it to be perfect before you'll let yourself make the second thing. Perfection is a way of never finishing. The willingness to do your best, assess it before it's perfect, and pour what you've learned into the next page. That's the whole craft. And that's what actually gets it made. If you want to see how the story on that page got written in the first place, the script behind Dark Angel, I made a video on exactly that, and you can check it out right here. Thanks for building this one with me. I'll see you on the next page.